idea is to present the concept of monetary measurement unit, MMU, which is basically improved concept of special drawing right of IMF, which is the only currency which consists of basket of currencies. But disadvantage, or in a way failure of this concept of special drawing right, which is the most important for the time being, is that it consists only of 5 currencies with weights based on the decision made by IMF on some calculations. We tried to do it in a more proper way to improve this concept, to make it even more stable in that way. Our monetary measurement unit consists of 20 countries, the most significant countries with weights. And weights are the influence in the world economy, higher than 1% of the total GDP of the world economy, which is significant. So there are 20 countries and 20 currencies inside this basket of currencies, monetary measurement unit. It is stable in that way, and it will be used as a base. And later on, we are trying to improve it even more, to add certain adequate premium on this base measure, to make it even more stable, to preserve value, but to enhance, which is proper for the world economy. So we are trying to implement adequate formula to calculate this premium, and premium will be basically calculated, this is the latest idea, based on T-bill yields, government sovereign debt yields of these 20 countries and these 20 currencies. It will start after the pre-sale period. The base for all of this is world economy entire, so it consists of all 194 countries, which is the measure of real GDP, so real economic activity of the entire world, to show the stability in that way of this way of calculation, exchange rate calculation. So my colleague and assistant, so Alexander, will show you more deeply these details.
And here in the presentation we have the list of countries from Australia to United States and the participation in the orange column. And we can see that for all of these 20 countries the participation is over 1%. The participation percentages, that is the weights of these countries in the global economy, are extracted and adjusted from the IMF database that consists of 194 countries globally, so all available data. And these are the weights extracted in their from their actually this available data. The participation of the countries itself is adjusted with regard to the real GDPs in United States dollars in terms of comparison of all amounts, because each country has a nominal and real GDP for each year expressed in national currency. So we have 194 countries and a little less currencies around the world, but in a way to express and of course summarize all the GDPs of countries, we have to translate them into a certain common denominator, and even in the IMF methodology, it is the United States dollar. So the IMF always publishes a projection of the growth of the real economy, global economy, and here I have extracted a graph from IMF's World Economic Outlook report, which is published twice a year with revisions also in the meantime. So we have quarterly on 3 months publishing of these data. And here we have some growth rates for the years from 2012 to 2017, 18 at the point, because this data is from October of 2018. The year was still not finished, so we have a little star, which means that it's a projection. So we're expecting the latest data for the complete year 2008, and we have 4 additional years for which the percentages presented actually present the projections. These growth rates that are expressed in the IMF database differ from the growth rates that are actually used in our model, because IMF, with respect to expressing the growth of global economy, makes certain adjustments in terms of purchasing power parity theory. So the IMF uses purchasing power parity expressed GDPs that basically do what? They express the purchasing power of the United States dollar and translate it into so-called international dollar, and this international dollar is used to express PPP GDPs, so that it shows the amount of production of each country expressed in prices of the international dollar. So it actually expresses more adequately the amounts, the volume of production of each country, but it actually negates the realized prices on the markets. So, for example, the most adequate example are the United States and China. United States has, in nominal terms and in real terms, when compared, larger GDP for a certain year. But when we calculate it into this PPP-based GDP, it shows that Chinese participation in the total global economy is larger than the US, because the thing is that with purchasing power parity in international dollars, that means in the US, the amount of production that you can buy with, for example, $1 is in China, of course, the volume of the production, only the volume, not taking into account like quantity of products and the ability to realize the production on international markets. So the Chinese PPP GDP expressed in this way is larger than the US, and so the participation of China in the global growth is larger actually than the United States, even though we said the United States has an actual realized larger GDP than China. So what we did is to express real GDP in the United States dollars, and in this way calculate the weights in an adjusted way. So we have them here. As you can see, the United States has adjusted weight of a bit over 30%, where China has almost 19%, which is the realistic situation in terms of actual GDPs. This is the data for year 2018. So these are the participation of countries for let's say year, not let's say, but exactly year 2018. So with these weights, we that are actually latest realized, we use them as the ones that are realized in the very end of year 2018 and in the beginning of the current 2019, until we get the actual complete data for year 2018, because we miss months October, November, and December. This will be very slightly adjusted, but this is the very precise calculation. When we use these weights, we use these weights for a base for our MMU calculated as in the way that the professor mentioned. Here we have an example for the presentation sake. The exchange rates of 20 countries, but we have 16 currencies because France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, and Spain are the countries from the European Union that have participation in the global GDP over 1%, and they all use euro. So we have 15 currencies plus euro, 16 and 20 countries. So just to make it crystal clear, here we have 16 currencies with respect to United States dollar. So expressed in this way. This is for 9th of January and 10th of January. It's an example. And based on this participation weights, that is the adjustment made for this, that is the importance of each of these currencies, let's say importance, for the complete basket of currencies that we make that is actually consistent with the SDR methodology, but as the professor mentioned, we have only 5 currencies there, where here we have 16. With these adjustments, we get a certain current exchange indicator. This is expressed in percentages. I don't want to change it now, so not to make some weird mistake, but this should be actually 0.6523, as it is expressed in this way here and here. So this foreign exchange, that is exchange rate indicator of these 16 countries, is calculated as a base for the MMU, and then because it is on simply market-based, on real market data for these exchange rates, we want to simulate the stability with a slight growth, as the global economy shows. Here we have a rate of growth extracted from the data for all of these 194 countries with respect to around 30 years in the past. So this is an adjusted average growth of the world economy, and it is calculated to here 2.58% annually. So this is the annual growth rate, and so far the premium is calculated. Okay. Here, first we have this foreign exchange indicator with this growth included. So this would be the expected value of the this way based MMU at the end of the growth period. That is at the end of the year 2019. So it would be 2.58% larger than the FX indicator, and this is the yearly calculation. And also because we have this growth rate, we have this at this point realized premium expressed for 1 day purpose. So it's, we don't see the formula here, but it's this growth rate divided by 365 days. So for each day we have this amount of a premium. And here we have this way expressed MMU as this indicator for dates 9th of January and 10th of January with adequate premiums. So this is 9, because 9th of January is 9th day in the year. You have 9 days here, so this is 9 times the premium plus the indicator here. And here is the 10-day premium added to the adjusted FX indicator. So the professor has, as he mentioned, the idea of the premium to be more realistically monetary expressed, because we have a monetary indicator, to maybe not extracted from the real growth, but from the interest rates of sovereign debt. And maybe you would like to...
So it will be based on these same weights, and we can calculate on this way the average rate of return for all of these countries' government debt yields, and it is monetary value. So in that way, monetary value remains monetary in a way of adding on this exchange rate calculator, or the base. This is the base, the premium, but premium will be in that way based on government debt, sovereign debt, because there is an yield based on this rate of return, in other words. So, yes. And this real value, this is real value, will just show on this 25 or 30 years period of time. So the stability of world economy as a fundamental value. So this is the other idea, to make it even more, to improve it in a way, and to make it more stable and to add a premium based on monetary value. Because interest rate or rate of return for this government debt is monetary value. So this is the idea, just to test it, and we can test it. So in the coming few days, Ace will do that.
Actually, the main challenge in this whole process of creating the MMU was to make consistent the connection of the real growth, so with excluded inflation and price changes a factor, and the nominally expressed indicator that will be comparable to other fiat currencies, exchange rates of countries in which the investments in the token will be performed, and that are of course in nominal sense. So the participation is directly extracted from the real growth and the actual contribution of the countries to the this way expressed MMU, but the indicator itself will be monetary, and with this premium that will be connected to the sovereign debt would be, let's say,
consistent,
more consistent and market-based, and actually more realistic in terms of the market that we will have in certain periods. So it's another option that should be
bearing in mind.
looked at. Yeah.